Alrighty, so now we are Shulchan Aruch Harav, chapter 276.
Turn off the light bulb.
These are the laws pertaining to a candle that a non-Jew lit on Shabbos.
So it pertains right to what Ira just said. He told Alexa to turn on his light bulb. So
Right.
we're talking about a light.
Now, Alexa, but it's different because a little bit different because Alexa's probably Jewish. So, so now, Nachri Shidlik is a Neir B'Shvil Yisrael Asur. If the Chol Adam Lishtamish La'iri B'Shabbos. Okay, so now, if a non-Jew lights a candle and he's lighting it for the Jew, it is prohibited for any person, meaning for any Jew, to use this light on Shabbos.
Like for reading.
Yeah, for anything you can't use this light. Meaning, well, we'll see. Maybe in the notes we'll talk about it. But meaning is a question if you're even allowed to use that room, because if you wouldn't otherwise be able to use that room, let's say it's dark and you otherwise wouldn't be able to use that room, you got a problem. If it's light outside and the windows are up and the candle is not really doing anything for you, it doesn't make any difference, then it's a different story maybe. But
if he turns up your heat on your furnace, you're allowed to stay in the house.
That we'll get to those things. Okay. For right now, we're just talking about a candle.
Okay.
Even a Jew that this candle, he wasn't the one that the candle was lit for. It was lit on for the benefit of a different Jew.
Okay.
You still cannot use it. That the sages were stringent about this, since a complete and total forbidden labor was done. If what's the word for malacha they use? A forbidden labor.
Scripturally forbidden labor. That's
a labor. Okay, fine. Yeah. So this is right. This is meaning this is from the Torah. It's an actual prohibition from the Torah. B'shvil Yisrael b'Shabbos, on behalf of a Jew on Shabbos. V'chein im hivir meduras eitzim b'shvil Yisrael. Two, if he lit a bonfire of wood on behalf of the Jew. Also, so now we are talking about the question that Ira just asked, and this pertains to that. So if he lit a bonfire on behalf of a Jew, even not the same Jew, it is prohibited for any Jew to heat himself across that fire. So this would seem that from this on first glance, anyways, if a guy comes and turns up my furnace for me, it would be a problem for any Jew to benefit from that heat that has been created. Even if the non-Jew is his intention was for his own benefit, meaning what? It doesn't mean here, I don't think for his own benefit because he was cold and therefore he put it up. But rather, so for example, the Jew pays the non-Jew, he gives him a daily salary, and just it should be noted that this is right now he's talking about specifically where the salary is paid on a day, is paid for specific days, because that's a bigger problem obviously because you're paying specifically for Shabbos. So if he gives the non-Jew money that he should come every day and light his candle and light his bonfire, right, light his oven, or alternatively, if he pays him for each time that he comes. In other words, every time you're going to come and light the candle and put my furnace up, I'll pay you $10. And now we're not talking that he specifically told him to come do it on Shabbos. He's doing it for his own sake, meaning why? Because he wants money. So every day that he comes, or alternatively every time that he lights it, you pay him a certain amount. Well, he wants to get paid that certain amount, so he comes on Shabbos, and I'm going to light it now and get my daily or my per job payment. Even so, it is prohibited to benefit from his work on Shabbos. That since the body of the Jew, meaning the actual Jew, will get benefit from this actual work that was done on Shabbos. So the main labor here, it was done because he needed it. Meaning either guy is doing it because you're paying him, but he's doing it because you need it to be done. Which I guess the proof of that is you're paying him to do it. So it's being done for the Jew. Right? Because when we talk about, for example, there's two things. If a guy comes and does it for himself, let's say you're walking by on the street, and there's a non-Jew there who has a fire barrel that he lit for himself, and he's heating his hands in the fire barrel, and it's very cold outside, and you walk up and warm your hands by the fire barrel. It's not the same problem because he wasn't thinking of you. He actually lit the fire barrel to benefit from the fire barrel itself. In this case, he's not benefiting from the actual melacha itself. Even though, yes, he's doing it for his own benefit, he should get paid. But his benefit is that he's getting paid. He has zero benefit from the fact that it doesn't help him any that this fire is lit, that this candle is lit, that this furnace is lit, besides for the fact that he's getting paid. If you weren't paying him, he wouldn't be doing it. So he is only benefiting from the sachar, from the pay. And he is doing the actual malacha that he's doing. He's not benefiting. He's doing for the Jew on Shabbos. So nimtza she'asiyas melechas Shabbos comes out that the doing of the work on Shabbos he b'shvilai kishiyehani mena b'Shabbos. It's for the Jew, that the Jew is going to benefit from it on Shabbos. V'yesh ligzir gzeira shema yemeli l'chseis b'Shabbos b'shvil ha'asli. Im yeh muter leilanis mena kishikar asiyos b'shvil ha'asli. So what they were worried about. The reason they made this prohibition is that they were worried that if the Jew is permitted to benefit from this work that the non-Jew does, then he might come to actually. So in other words, according to the Midiraisa part of it, according to the letter of the law, the truth is the Midiraisa part of it is if the Jew himself lights it on Shabbos. So it's already really a midarabanan that the guy is lighting it on Shabbos. But in the case of Amir al-Nachri, we know that of saying to a non-Jew to do things, we know that they were stringent, and in this case they were afraid that even if you're doing it for his benefit, meaning if you're telling him to do it for his benefit, that we're worried that he might actually tell him to do it on the Jews' behalf. And it's going to be mamish for his benefit. They tell him, hey, can you light this thing for me because I'm cold. So that is why the sages prohibited this thing, even though Medina it's not prohibited. In theory, it's not that big of a problem. But they made an extra thing here that you cannot even do it, even if he's doing it for the benefit of his payment. Notes.
Okay. So, Bichlal, when we started off saying non-Jew kindles, it's not just kindling lights; it's any sort of labor that would be forbidden, of course, for a yid. Now, with regards to a light, so although the Alter Rebbe is talking about oil or kerosene lamps, These same laws apply to an electric light, turning on an electric light. Now, all contemporary authorities agree that closing or opening an electric circuit is forbidden. There is, however, disagreement concerning whether turning on an electric light is forbidden by scriptural law or by rabbinic law. Some authorities, such as the Tzafnas Paneach, otherwise known as the Ragachover Goin, maintain that closing an electric circuit is forbidden because it's moilid. You bring a new entity into existence, which is a rabbinic enactment. Many others, however, are of the opinion that turning on electricity is a scriptural prohibition, such as the Beis Yitzchak, etc. And see the Encyclopedia Talmudis Erech Chashmal for more info on that. But either way, everyone agrees it's wrong. The question is, rabbinical or scriptural. Now he does it for a Jew, meaning the wording of the Alter Rebbe, it says Bishvil Yisrael, for a Jew, meaning his actions indicate he's acting for the benefit of the Jew. For example, he leaves the Jew's house after kindling that light or fire for him. Then we said, to basically to use this light on Shabbos, as it says in Gemara Shabbos, and furthermore, after Shabbos, the Jew must wait for as long as it takes to kindle said light or fire before using it. Can't wait. You can't use it right away after Shabbos. It's sort of knas, a sort of punishment, as we see later in Shin in 325. Now, in contrast, so we said the Chacham ruled stringently regarding this because an actual scriptural forbidden labor was performed. Now, in contrast, when a given labor was forbidden only according to the rabbinic ruling, a person for whom the activity was not performed may derive benefit for it. Meaning, so maybe the non-Jew did it for me, so fine, I can't use it, but Mendel could use it or Ira could use it because they didn't do it for them. He did it for me. So he said, similarly, basically, if the guy used wood as fuel, made a fire for my behalf. So the same applies. It's not just wood. The note brings out also for furnaces or heaters that other types of fuel like gas or oil or electricity. Like today, it's not specifically wood burning. Now then we continued, and he said basically how the fixed fee, right? So there's such and such amount for every day that he would kindle lamps and fires on my behalf, right? So it's not specific Shabbos, but it's every day he does it, he gets a certain amount of money. So the Alter Rebbe brought in this Kuntres Achrein, which is that big aleph, the big note, that a person who accepts responsibility for a given task for a given day, for a specific task for a given day, is considered what's called a kablan, a contractor. He's not considered as the agent of the Jewish employer. He's not my employee. He's a self-employed. He's a 1099. He's a contractor. Yeah. Nevertheless, in his Madura Basra, the later version, the Alter Rebbe redefined his concept of the matter and ruled that since the worker's wage is calculated by the day, he's considered a day worker and hence an agent of the Jewish employer. So even though he's not a general employee and he's doing it per the job, but since he's doing it per the job for the day, so he once again is more like an actual shliach of the employer. Or the other example we said was he has a fee for every fire he lights. He gets a certain money. So again, the Kuntres Achrein refers to his statements to 244, where he refers to the two manners of employing a non-Jewish a non-Jew mentioned over here. Okay, sorry, just I guess referring us to want to see more, go look at the Kuntres Achrein and Reish Mem Daled. So now, so he said the rationale is since a Jew's physical person will benefit as a direct result. So in contrast to his property or financial position. There are certain situations, for example, let's say a non-Jew collects grass with the intent of feeding it to an animal owned by a Jew. So where the Jew is considered to have derived physical benefit from a non-Jew's activity, where it is merely his animal that benefited, right? By and large, however, the stringency applied only when he derives actual physical benefit. Just because my animal is benefiting, it's not the same as me, myself, like directly getting benefit. And the last note, just that's off at the end of the sif. So we said we were afraid that maybe a yid to be permitted to benefit from it, then he might start telling the non-Jew to do scripturally forbidden tasks on Shabbos, primarily for his own benefit, and giving those kind of instructions are forbidden, even when the non-Jew works as a contractor. Those are definitely not allowed. Base.
Yeah. Base. So this again, this was something that Ira brought up. Is okay. So now we're saying that you're not allowed to benefit from a Jew, from a non-Jew lighting a fire for you. And you're not allowed to benefit even from a fire he lit for another non-Jew. So what? You have to leave your house. Mikol mokim lo yitrichu al Yisrael lotzis mi beisai kishemadlik bo yanachri ner b'shvili midas atzmei. So nevertheless, even the sages did not trouble or bother the Jew to the point where they would require him to leave his house in the case that a non-Jew lights a fire from his own volition, right? Even though he's getting benefit from this. But just he should not use the light, and the same applies to the fire. I don't know. Let's say in this case the furnace. Obviously, our furnaces don't make light. But
in the note he says basically not to approach the fire to warm himself. So whether it's
not use it, meaning okay. So meaning he shouldn't go and use it. So he doesn't have to leave the house, even though he's technically benefiting by being in the house.
Or he doesn't have to leave the room.
But he shouldn't go and he shouldn't go and furthermore, if the light is on, so he doesn't have to leave the house because the light is on. But he shouldn't probably do things like read by the light of that candle. Right. Or warm himself.
Don't use the light, and same thing by the fire. You don't have to leave the room where the fire is on. Just don't go over to the fireplace and warm yourself up. Right.
Okay. Well, who adin imhu shevis b'malin b'veis hanachi. The same is the law if he stays. Shabbos means like Shabbos could also mean spend Shabbos. Yeah, if he's resting, but meaning he's spending the day. He's spending Shabbos in a hotel in the house of a like a bed and breakfast or something kind of thing, in an inn. So now, if you're staying in a bed and breakfast, right? So obviously, the guy who runs the bed and breakfast, he wants to get 5 stars. He doesn't want you should write in your review. It was a nice place, but it was kind of cold. So he goes and it was dark. So he goes and he lights a candle, and he lights a furnace. But he's doing it for your benefit. He's doing it because he wants you to be comfortable. The kavan shu shavis bay nasike beisai. Just like we said before, that they're not going to trouble him to leave his house in that case. In this case too, since he's staying there, this is the right. I'm staying in this place. I'm paying for room. Okay, so it's the same idea as if I was staying in my own house, and the sage is not going to bother me to leave my house. And if he wants to do in a best possible manner, in the what do you call it, the lifnim mishuras adin, beyond the letter of the law way, he should turn away from the light to show that he does not this is not desirable to him. Notes.
One note is just basically reiterates what we explained before by the turning off. If the guy does it on his own initiative, his own volition, so we shouldn't use the light of the lamp or the fire. Like we said, don't approach the heater, but also by the light, for example. So don't be doing things like reading from it or specific activities that you couldn't do if the light wasn't on. But you can still sit in that room. You can still chat with friends, chill, eat, whatever. Because technically you could do those things without that light. Even though you are getting some satisfaction from the fact that the light is on because you're spending time in that room. The light is on. It's definitely easier. But technically, those are things you can do without the light on. You just don't want to do activities that you couldn't do without the light being on. So reading and whatnot. And that's that's it. Okay.
Mikol makim im haner hu shel Yisrael. However, if the light belongs to a Jew, so in the first place he should hold back the hand of the meaning he should tell him not to. to light it on his behalf. He should hold him back from doing so. Mitam shenes bar b'shimin reishon base, from the reason that's explained in 252, which will probably be in the notes. V'chein b'medura me'etzim shel Yisrael. Similarly, if the bonfire is from the wood of a Jew, or let's say you have a heater, let's say the Jew owns a little heater, and the guy in the inn is going to come to was going to go and plug in his heater. He has a little heater. Plug it in for him. He should tell him not to. If he wasn't watching and the non-Jew lit it, so he's allowed to have benefit from it and use the light.
Because they translate, it's not that it's watching. It's that basically if the non-Jew didn't listen to the Yid.
Oh, he didn't listen to him.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes more sense. That's one thing. Otherwise,
I don't know how that works. How does ishgiach mean? How does ishgiach mean that? What's the shirish?
Like a mashgiach.
Yeah, to me, but it would mean to supervise, to oversee.
Yeah.
So how does that mean though that the non-Jew didn't?
Meaning he didn't successfully have what's it called?
Influence him to.
Yeah, he did not. His efforts to
prevail upon him. He didn't,
right. His efforts to what's it called failed. Yeah.
Didn't work. Right. Okay. Fine.
So which makes a lot more sense, because it's funny that he uses that term because in my brain I was right away thinking, wait, what's the difference between that and the prior situation? If he wasn't watching and the guy did it, what's the difference? We go right back to Sif Aleph and Beis. Right, about exactly. The guy, did he have a problem? So no, this is the case where he tried to tell him don't do it, and he did it anyways, and then he could use it anyways. Meaning, as long as when he was trying to stop him, he was doing so like properly. He was doing so fully. Sincere. Yeah, he was really trying to stop him. Like, don't stop. Like, no, you really have to. No, buddy, don't. No, I'm telling you, don't do it. Don't plug my thing in. I'm telling you, don't plug my thing in. So. It has to have been a sincere attempt to stop him. Obviously, short of physical violence. Now, if so that we were talking about. I think we were talking about the case of the inn still. Now, what if it's in his house and he told the guy he tried to hold him back from lighting it, and the guy didn't listen to him. Even though technically he is allowed to use this because he did sincerely try to stop him, but he must kick this non-Jew out of his house. Because he doesn't listen to him, that doesn't listen to him, and he's going ahead and lighting and turning off things for you on Shabbos when you told him not to. So obviously this contract is not working out. So he needs to stop it, to cut off the contract, and this guy is not going to. This is not going to work out anymore. Even though he has in mind to his own self-benefit, because he wants more pay, right? Meaning, let's say that's the reason he did it. Like you're saying, no, it's Shabbos, don't light it. He's like, no, I'm going to light it. I want $10. I want the $10. You're like, no, don't light it. It's not. I don't want it on. No, I'm lighting it so I get the $10. Like the guys who come like wipe your windows and tell you you owe them $10. And this is like a kablan, right? Like how do we call it? Contractor. That you did not have to hold back his hand, even when he does the when he's using the objects of the Jew in order to do the work, right? Commission is by the Sham. Let's explain there. Mikol makim also leila haniche sheyas v'veisei. So even though, hang on a second, if it's a contractor and he's coming and doing it, meaning he could do it on Shabbos, not do it on Shabbos, technically it's not really a problem. However, the problem is that he still can't do it because there's what's called maris ayin. Maris ayin is the idea that it's going to look to other people like something that is taking place that's wrong, and we're not allowed to do something that people will think we're doing something that's breaking Shabbos, and therefore, and what's interesting is that, well, it depends on the case. In most cases, Maris Ayin applies even when nobody's going to see it. It still applies. In some cases, it doesn't. In some cases, if it's outside of a place that's not a Jewish settlement and it's not something that's going to whatever, there's different rules on that, but we won't get the whole Indian for itself.
We learned at the beginning of this semester about co-owned,
about right. If it's
owned by the Jew manager, whatever.
If it's the type of property that is usually, that the contract is usually a type that would be prohibited on Shabbos, and you're still not allowed to do it, and even though in your particular case, you're not doing it in a prohibited way. But since the usual way is a prohibited way, you're not allowed to do it because people will think they'll think that you are doing it in a prohibited way, since that's the usual way. So in that case, we said that Maris Ayin, that the fact that people will see, only applies within a Jewish settlement, even though not everybody, not all of the place can agree on that on that thing. But in general, the final thing seems to be that as long that only applies if it's within an area that there's Jewish people, because otherwise they're not going to notice. However, it doesn't always work that with Maris Ayin.
Okay, so notes. So we said that the you have to admonish the non-Jew. Of course, we're talking about only if he sees him doing it, then you have to. It's if you see something, say something. But if you hear about it after the fact, I don't think you have to tell off the non-Jew. It says only when the Jew sees the non-Jew performing the activity, as stated in Reish Nun Beis. So you see the Kushas Achron over there. In these sources, the Alter Rebbe explains, since the non-Jew is using the Jew's property, he's considered as the Jew's agent. He's using my stuff. Seeing the non-Jew kindle a light or a fire in his property without admonishing him is tantamount to acquiescing to his activity. He was quiet. That means he's going along with it. He's fine with it. Gave his permission, so to speak. In his Madur Basra, section 243, the Alter Rebbe states that when a non-Jew performs an activity for a Jew on his own initiative, even though he's a contractor employed by the Jew, there's no need to admonish him, provided the Jew does not derive direct benefit from the forbidden activity on Shabbos itself. Nevertheless, in the situation at hand, benefiting from the kindling of light or fire would warrant admonishment, because he is going to benefit. But for example, he doesn't have direct benefit, for example, like we said, let's say he has a non-Jew who takes care of his animals on the farm, and the non-Jew did some stuff to take care of the animals. He cut the grass. Fine. I'm not deriving direct benefit from that. Okay, there's overall benefit that you're taking care of my animals. My animals are taken care of, but I'm not. Okay. All right. So just an interesting point. So it says, so if Taka kindled the lamp belonging to the Jew, so you can make look, if he didn't listen and the guy went ahead and turned on the light, so I can make benefit in use of the light. And meaning the admonishment absolves him from the prohibition against benefiting from the non-Jew's activity. So that kind of protects him from the knas, from the punishment of not. Okay, of course, because the whole reason why we're giving that punishment is so that you don't let this kind of stuff happen. So if you go ahead and try to stop it from happening, then obviously that works. Then you don't have to be punished. Like it's
right. There's no reason for this.
You understand the assignment. There's no risk of you thinking, oh no, this means I'm gonna start. No, it's clear. So now, so then we've further on we jumped in. We said. So he has to dismiss. He has to kick the person from his home. Says, this guy don't listen to me. He kindles lights and fires for me on Shabbos. So there's two issues and consequences involved. Aleph, since the Jew could enjoy direct benefit from the non-Jew's activity, so he's forbidden to do anything that enables him to derive that benefit. And Bey, lest an undesirable impression be created, he's required to dismiss the non-Jew for working him. So both the fact that he might do stuff that I'm going to benefit from that I'm not allowed to benefit from, but also it could cause a big issue of Marasayan. This guy's just there's lights being switched on and off all over my house, and people are gonna be like, I don't know if that's such a Shabbos house. There's all this stuff that's always going on.
Yeah, the lights. He's gonna.
I'm always seeing the vacuum and the dishwasher and the lights and anyway, and that's about it. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, Dalit. Avol im haneid eitzim shalanachri. However, if the candle or the wood belongs to the non-Jew, then he does not need to try to stop him. When he's doing it of his own initiative. Even though he didn't, even though he did not, he's not paying him for it. Right? Meaning, even when he didn't establish a fixed fee.
Fixed fee, yeah.
Right. For the reason that is explained there.
Original base.
And yeah, in 252. Even if it's in a house, of the Jew, meaning it's not in an inn. We're like we said, in the house of a Jew, we have an additional problem of Maris Ayin, that it looks bad. We're not worried about Maris Ayin, we're not worrying about looking bad when the labor is being done with the items of the non-Jew, from the reason explained in 325. Notes.
So we said if it's his stuff, his wood or his lamp, and he does it on his own initiative, we don't need to admonish him, like it says in the Madur Basra 243. The Alter Rebbe states, since a Jew derives direct benefit from the non-Jew's activity on Shabbos, the Jew is obligated to admonish him, even if he performs the forbidden labor with his own resources. But that's if he does it. Interesting. So the Alter Rebbe changes it up, I guess. Says the fact is, he's still doing it for my benefit. I'm still getting direct benefit from it, even though he did it on his own initiative. So for like we said, you're sitting in the hotel lobby, and guy comes over and turns on the light. For you, it's for you. It's not for anyone else. You're the only one sitting in that corner of the lobby.
Right.
No, thank you.
But it's his light.
It's his light. He's the manager of the hotel. Or the owner of the hotel, whatever. He owns the lamp. It's not my lamp.
Right.
Yeah, but it's still. So then it seems the Madur Basra out there says, no, you still got to say something.
So he changes it up then, I guess, from here.
Yeah, he switches up.
Because here he's saying there's a difference between if it's his thing or your thing. If it's his thing, you don't have to admonish him. If it's your thing, you do. And Madur Basra, which is what we go by.
Still a problem. You're still deriving direct benefit.
Okay, so the bottom line is, it does not make a difference if it's his stuff or your stuff.
Yeah. If you're deriving direct benefit from it, you got to say something. Yeah. And then we said, as we see in 252, Sif 9, that the Alter explains, since the non-Jew uses his own property, the activity is not yet identified with a Jew. Therefore, there's no concern about the impression that could be created. In 252.10, the Alter explains that the non-Jew is not considered the Jew's agent because he's acting on his own initiative and it's for his own benefit, because he's certain the Jew will reciprocate the kindness. So it's interesting when then reflecting that with the Madur Basra, it connects with one of the notes we said before, where there's really two components that happen here. There's really two parts to this. You have the fact that there's an impression that it could create.
Right.
When we said with regards to kicking the Jew out of the house, the non-Jew out of the house, you have to fire him. Because one part is that I could derive direct benefit. The other thing is the Marasayan that you're creating. So Mitzad Marasayan, when he owns it and he's doing it on his own initiative, okay, fine. There's no Marasayan. But the problem that still exists, and I think that Alter Rebbe, that's why he says in Madur Basra that it's still a problem, is that you're still deriving direct benefit from it. Even though he's acting on his own initiative. He's not your shliach. There's no Marasayan. He's not your shliach. He's doing it himself, but you're still getting benefit from it.
Right.
Even if they're not just doing it as I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine kind of thing, being friendly because I like to keep up this friendly relationship. So he's getting something out of it, but there's still the problem that I'm getting a direct benefit from it, so I have to say something. So in the forbidden labor is so then we continued. Okay, so then at the end we finished off. Right. So we're not concerned with the impression, as we explained in 325. So over there in 325, the Alter Rebbe states that articles belonging to a non-Jew may be given to him on Shabbos, even if it's clear he's going to take them out in Rosh Hashanah. Right? The guy comes over and says, "Hey, do you have my bowls I lent you, my extra paper bowls, tissue paper?" "Oh yeah, here you go." And the guy can walk out, even though he's going to clearly walk into Rosh Hashanah, and that's not allowed for me to do. The rationale is that he's not acting for my sake; he's acting for his own benefit. It's his own property, so it's his benefit. It's not the Kuchas Achron. That's the big bays. The Alter Rebbe refers to the Kuchas Achron over in 252, note 5, which explains that when a non-Jew performs an activity on his own initiative, we are not concerned with the impression that may be created, even though the activity is being performed in the Jew's home and for the Jew's benefit, because everyone knows that the non-Jew expects to be repaid for his efforts and thus is acting for his own benefit. When does concern for the impression might be created arise? When a Jew instructed a non-Jew to perform the activity. I tell him, "Hey, go to my house and go get those cases of tissues for your house," or whatever. In such a situation, we're concerned that others will think that the Jew instructed him to perform it on Shabbos, or that the non-Jew is employed as a day worker. Since the non-Jew performs a forbidden activity with his own resources and for his benefit, the only difficulty would be if the Jew specifically instructed the non-Jew to perform the forbidden activity on Shabbos, right? Because the other issues aren't there. So the only problem is the Jew's Amir al-Nachri.
Right.
He told him to do it then. So there would be no difficulty, of course, if the Jew instructed him before the forbidden activity during the week, and the non-Jew understood that it was desired that he also do it on Shabbos. So especially in that case where he's doing it for himself, he's doing it with his own resources. So the only issue really comes down to that we might think he said it on Shabbos. But if we don't, if he said it during the week, and it also includes Shabbos, so then it's not a problem. Don't have to worry about it.
Right. Yeah.
Hey,
Mikol Makim Muter Leilim Chizbei. The same time, you're allowed to hold him back. In other words, even though we said you don't have to. Well, even though we said you don't have to, and then we said yes, you do have to. But according to originally when we said you don't have to, tell him not to. In the case that it's his own stuff, you are still permitted to do so. And so too is you are allowed to stop a non-Jew who's coming to add oil. He's coming to add his oil to a candle, or meaning a lamp, that's already burning. Ve'ein bazeh mishum kibui. Sha'al yidei mechasei goydem mihirus achibui. And this does not comprise telling a non-Jew to put out the candle, or put out the lamp, sorry. Why? Because if you think about it, if this guy, he's going and he's going to put oil into the thing, it's going to burn longer. Now you telling him not to, don't add oil to there, you're causing that it's going to burn out faster. Right? When you're telling him not to.
Right.
So he's saying no, this doesn't that does not equate to putting out the doesn't equate to extinguishing fire. Yeah. By telling him not to do so. So this is we're talking about if the non-Jew is going to put his own oil in it, right? However, if he's putting your oil in it, then you have to tell him not to. Well, no, then you have to. Oh, sorry. And when he's holding back from a non-Jew who's lighting it, what's with Mishalai? With who's? With the Jews, or who's the he? Who is he? I guess with his own resources.
Yeah, the non-Jews resources. Yeah, with his
Okay.
own.
Whether in his house or in a house, doesn't make a difference in his house, or like we said before, if he's staying over Shabbos in an inn in the house of a non-Jew, and he was not successful at getting him to stop. He's allowed to use this light, so long as he didn't in other words, so long as he wasn't not like, what do you call it? He didn't hold back from his telling him to stop. Meaning he did it in a proper way. He did it meaning he meant business when he told him that.
Yeah. Yeah.
For cereals. Okay, so just jumping back to, so we said it's not considered extinguishing the lamp, and we don't say that his admonishment caused the lamp to burn out earlier. So because he's not causing it to burn out earlier than it would have had the non-Jew not added the oil. It was going to burn out that time. Okay, the non-Jew was going to do something that would have made it burn longer. Right. So it's not that the Jew did not make it burn less than it would have on its own. He just stopped it from being added to. There's an additional concept that's important to emphasize. In the Madura Basra in 243, the Alter Rebbe writes, there's no obligation for the Jew to admonish the non-Jew if he merely adds a candle or adds oil to the lamp. As long as the original candle or fuel is present, one may benefit from the additional candle or fuel added by the non-Jew. So yeah, these additional things you can also benefit from.
Yeah.
Well, all of this, all of the above that we're talking about is when Israel is when the non-Jew lit this for the benefit of a Jew, meaning whether you Jew or other Jew, but he did it for a Jew. That's when all those are a problem. But if he lit it for himself, right, for his own benefit, or alternatively for the benefit of another non-Jew, right? Like, let's say the hotel idea that we were talking about. What if you're not the only one in the lobby? Let's say there's a bunch of non-Jewish guests there also, and he wasn't lighting it specifically for you. He was lighting it for them. So then, any Jew is allowed to use this light, even if the guy went and took your stuff and did it with your stuff. He took your lamp and lit it for his own benefit or for the benefit of a different non-Jew. It's still fine. Because you don't go as far as making a decree that maybe he'll tell the non-Jew that he should light it for yourself or light it for somebody else. So you're not worried about that. We don't go that far to worry about that. Similarly, if the now this is by the way, this is a very important piece here, because this is something that comes up actually, right? What if the non-Jew lit it for the benefit of somebody who's ill, even if he's not dangerously ill, or for children, who have the same rule as somebody who is ill but not dangerously so, the chol davar regarding all halachic matters. Somebody who's healthy is allowed to use this light. Because you're not worried that he's going to tell. What if he's going to tell the non-Jew to put the light on because of the sick person? Because that you're allowed to do in the first place. Because the whole thing of Amir al-Nachri, right, is a rabbanon that gets waived when we're talking about somebody who's sick. For a sick person, you're allowed to tell a non-Jew, right, that there's certain times when telling a non-Jew to do it is okay. One of those is when there's somebody sick or if it's for the sake of children. So in that case, why would you worry that he's going to do it? Because even if he does do it, it's fine. And the perfect example for this, and this is why this is a very important one, is, for example, and this has happened to me several times in my life, where I spent Shabbos in a hospital with somebody. And when you spend Shabbos in a hospital with somebody, right, and they're hot and they're cold, or they need the light on or something, or whatever it is, or alternatively they come and turn the light on because whatever, for the benefit of, oh, it's dark in the room, they come and turn the light on. So you can sit and read a book by that. You're allowed to now benefit from that because it's the same like as if a non-Jew did it for himself. And so, for example, so if they turn the light on for the sake of the sick person in the hospital room, you can sit and read and read a book. Now, you can't tell them to put the light on if for your benefit because you want to read the book. But you can tell them to do something for the benefit of the sick person, though. Right? The sick person needs to go to the bathroom with their fancy gown and wheeling the coat rack with the bags hanging from it, right, into the bathroom, and they obviously want it to be light, so not going to trip, so it's not going to, what do you call it? You can tell the nurse, can you please turn the light on so we can go to the bathroom? You can tell them to can you disconnect the IV thing from the, what is it, how it's connected to the wall?
That is perfect, because then you could tell them to go turn it on, and then you can go ahead and benefit from that light. When you go to use the bathroom, you don't have to be closing your eyes. You're not benefiting from the light that's in the bathroom because it's not. We don't.
Well, not just that. Let's say even more. Let's say they turned on the light in the room so that the person can get to the bathroom and with enough light. Now you don't have to, what's it called? You can and now you can just let them leave the light on, and you can sit and read a book by that light in the room even. Not a problem. And not only that, you can in the first place even tell them to like unplug the IV thing, right? Because to go to the bathroom, they need to unplug the IV thing. It runs on the battery. Okay, this is not something you can do on this, but for the sake of a sick person, and in addition, women who have just had a baby is considered also a sick person. So this is an important thing to know when somebody's in the hospital with their wife right after she had a baby, etc. Is now. By the way, now that we're talking about all these things, however, consult your own rabbi regarding exactly doing this, because till how many days is she considered sick, etc., etc., etc. In either case, well, in this case, you can do it for the baby because the baby is a child. But in either case, consult your local rav in terms of practically speaking how to execute all these things. But for a sick person and a child, you're allowed to do those things. Notes.
Okay, so we said it's permitted. So a non-Jew lights a lamp for his own sake or for the sake of another non-Jew. It's permitted for you to make use of the light. The basic principle is that once a fire lamp is kindled for one person, it benefits others without the need for any additional activity performed for their sake, even if the lamp was owned by a Yid. All agree there's no obligation to admonish the non-Jew, as we're going to see in Sif 12. Moreover, one may even motivate the non-Jew to perform a forbidden activity for his own sake, so that afterwards the Jew will benefit from it. For example, the Aruch Shulchan writes in 276.9 that he remembers when he was a child, if there was no light in the house, it was a common practice to tell a non-Jew, we would like to give you a drink of vodka, but we can't find it in the dark. Afterwards, they would tell the non-Jew not to extinguish the light, which is a very important part of that, because that's exactly what happened in our home, 2520 Waring Street in Berkeley, California. We live right on campus, many students walking by. There was a night where I think it was either someone bumped against the light or it was like a random blackout, and when things came back on, for some reason the light didn't come back on. So we invited someone in to come join us, and again, we didn't want to tell them directly turn on the light, so we just said, why don't you have a drink? Oh, by the way, the light switch is over there. If you want some light, that's where the light switch is. So the guy turned on the light. He came in, he had a drink, had something to eat. He hung out with us for like 5 minutes, and then he got up to leave, and the light switch is right by the door leaving the room. And on his way out, he switched the light back off because he thought it was some like Jewish ritual that we wanted the lights off. And that we only allowed him to turn the lights on for his own sake. But he thought that was our preference. We forgot to tell him, no, leave them on. It was just, he left so quickly. It was just too awkward to tell him to come back. So whenever he left, and then we had to go find somebody else, have a drink, have a beer, or whatever it was. And then we told them, and please don't turn back. So Mamish, my sister, yeah, I flipped it off. I just remember him walking out and like had just knocked it off as he walked out the door. So funny. Anyway, okay, kind of like how someone would do like in the middle of the night. You know, you flip off the light when you leave the bathroom. You know, like when you're doing it like that. Just quick flip off. You know, it's so funny. Anyway, so the Chachamim did not have a decree forbidding, right? Because you're not going to tell a non-Jew to kindle a lamp for his own sake or for the sake of another non-Jew. Typically, there's no concern about the impression, the Marasayan, because the non-Jew is acting for his own benefit. Excuse me. So with regards to the sake of children, so some commentaries have mentioned the intent here is kindling a fire, but not a light, because children are sensitive to cold and are considered as ill for specifically heat purposes, but not with regards to light. And the Badi Shulchan states that the Alter Rebbe statement can be understood also referring to kindling a light, because there are some children who are afraid of the dark. My son, for example, I don't even know it's just dark, because I'm not even sure if it's really a light thing by him, or it's just the chalal. He doesn't want to feel like cut off. He always wants the door open from his room. I think he doesn't want to be left out. He wants to be
that's a normal thing. Because
I don't think even a nightlight in his room would help.
In a child's mind, when the door is closed, it's like okay, I'm alone. I'm all alone in here. When the door is open, oh, you're over there. There's a feeling I'm connected to the house. Yeah.
Right. What's the game we do with kids? Where did I go? Peekaboo. Yeah. What do you mean? Where am I? I'm just closing my eyes. But there's like he's gone, and he's back.
Think about also, because a kid is not seeing what we're seeing. Like, for example, when you leave the house, what does the kid see? How does the kid know you're leaving the house? Because you go and you close the door. Right. Oh, wait, maybe he's standing outside. No, so we know a certain thing. Oh, I'm going, like, there's certain other cues that as we grow, we start naturally understanding other cues that happen around us. Whereas kids, they don't need to understand all the cues. So just the closing of a door has more meaning as more meaning to them sometimes.
Right. Anyway, so this kula is granted until about age 8, 9, or 10, depending on the child's physical development, and that's from the Minchas Yitzchak, as well as the Shmir Shabbos Kilchasa. So.
By the way, you should know my wife does the same thing.
What? The light on? Or the door open?
Well, she goes to sleep usually earlier than I do. Okay, until somebody else is in the room, or even let's say my daughter goes to sleep in that room, right? Then it's fine. She'll close the door as long as it's only her in the room. She leaves the door open a little bit.
Right.
It's just whatever it is.
Yeah,
so it's not even kids. It's yeah.
Right.
Now the only difference is in her case you wouldn't be able to ask a guy to do it because of that. For the kid's sake, you would. That's right. That's the difference.
Right. And so why bichlal? We said so. We continue on. We said b'chol davar for all matters because their health is fragile. With an adult, even though they have such fears, their health is not fragile, so it's okay. They'll survive it. With a little kid, though, Taka, their health is considered fragile, so such fears and stuff could set them off. It could be physically dangerous for their health. So, but as we said in Tesvav, and we'll also see in 328, it's not a blanket leniency. There has to be some sort of need. So that's just okay. Bichlal kula, okay, do whatever. Now, it's permitted for healthy people to use its light. Even though you did it for them, other healthy people can use it. So in Eretz Yisrael today, rabbinic authorities differ on whether to permit the use of electricity generated by the national electric companies, since the majority of its workers are Jewish. Now, what's interesting is this was written before, literally in the past couple of months. There's been some developments on that front about how to use the grids, especially for neighborhoods that are frum. They're trying to pass certain ordinances to solve this issue. But otherwise, it's a big issue. You have Jewish people working down at the power plants. So the lenient authorities in Israel maintain that the use of electricity is permitted because it's generated by the machines without the need of human intervention. Okay, there's human supervision, but the machines are the ones doing it. You don't have guys sitting there turning cranks. Moreover, according to the lenient view, one may benefit from electricity even when there is a blackout and it's necessary for Jewish workers to fix the problem on Shabbos. The rationale given is that since the electricity is being generated for sick people in life-threatening situations, there's hospitals everywhere, or even people living at home. They need electricity to and that activity is a mitzvah to perform on Shabbos. So it could be used by others as well. So you could say, okay, the Yidden that are working down at the power plant, okay, they're generating electricity for all the sick people that live in these different neighborhoods, in the hospitals, etc. Okay, we're also allowed to. But nevertheless, it should be noted Must be noted that Rebbe warmly praised the inhabitants of Kfar Chabad for having generators installed, private, separate, off-the-grid generators, so they would not be dependent on the use of the national electric grid on Shabbos. And you see that Rebbe has a letter, Nigos Kodesh, volume 24, letter number 9106. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting idea, but another reason to go off the grid. So we continue. We ended off saying, of course, you're not worried about anybody because l'chatchila they're allowed to. So we're not concerned that non-Jew is going to add more oil to the lamp for the sake of a healthy person. But we'll see actually later. By contrast, in Yud Gimel, we're going to get further.
So I'm wondering, is my wife considered a chayla? Because she just told me just yesterday, I'm sick and tired of you leaving your socks in this place.
So she's a chayla because of you. It could be. I don't know. You have to speak to a doctor about it.
Yes, speak to your local doctor. Okay, that's all the notes for that one?
Yeah, Zion.
Okay, Zion.
I have to give you a warning, actually. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to finish this. I'm having a terrible headache for some reason.
Well,
Down for a bit.
yeah. So let's see. How long is this Siman?
It's a long Siman. It's a longer Siman.
Yeah, I mean, we could always break somewhere. And anyways, at some point. Yeah. Anyways, at some point, I'm gonna want to have take a coffee and eat a little something, and then we could take a break and maybe continue in a while.
That could be perfect. I could just while you have your coffee, I'll just close my eyes for like 15-20 minutes.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
might just be enough.
Okay. You want to go to the Zion, or do you want to go? Up to you. You want to go?
Well, so I'm just wondering if this is a new. The author kind of starts with like a new thing here. Now would be a good point to wait, or should we?
Let me see, maybe
Until Tess.
I think he's still going in the same direction.
No, I'm just saying it's somewhat newer. Like
No, because
Tess and Yud are continuations from the Sifim before, but this is like
no, he goes right back into it. In other words, he's going into what's considered. We just said that if he's doing it for himself, what's considered the guy's doing it for himself or he's doing it for a Jew. If you have a mixed crowd, let's say in said hotel, you have a certain amount of
taka where they're eating together, they're drinking. Yeah. So now what's the their benefits? It's also the Yud's benefit. Okay, but I have to go to the bathroom anyway.
Fine. Let's pause here and then we will continue. What's it called? Let's be in touch and maybe whatever it is in another hour, whatever it is, or let's touch base again.
3:30 or 4 o'clock. We'll see.
Yeah, fine. Yeah, very good. Okay.
Okay, I'm keeping everything open and I'll be.
Okay, great. Yeah, very good. So I'm